Karolyne Roberts here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be talking about 5 things I wish I knew before I got married. So if you're interested in watching more, then definitely stay tuned. So I have been married for almost 7 years. It's gonna be 7 years in August with my husband, and I have learned so much throughout this journey of marriage, and I am making this video just to share some of the things that nobody really told me before I got married, some of the things that were a surprise to me and I wish I knew coming into marriage. So let's get started with number 1. So one of the things that I wish I knew before marriage, and it probably would have saved a lot of issues in our marriage in the beginning, is your spouse is your family, not your enemy. So a lot of times when we are single, we try to protect ourselves. It's like me against the world. We take care of ourselves when we are single, but then when you get married, it's like you're transitioning into a life of always taking care of yourself and looking out for yourself to a life of protecting us, taking care of us, looking out for us, and looking out for your spouse. And it's easy, when you get into arguments and disagreements, to get defensive, to feel like the person is trying to hurt you, or to feel like you need to protect yourself against that person. But you have to remember, you guys are on the same team. Your spouse is your family now. This is your family. You guys have separated from, your original, your mother and father, and you have come together to start a new family. This is your family. This is your number one. This is your priority, and now you have to protect that. Now you have to protect that unit. Now you have to protect that space. But some of the mistakes that I made when I got married, especially the first year, when my husband and I would get into an argument or a disagreement, I would run to my first family or my immediate family or friends, and I would tell them about the argument we had. I would tell them, how I'm mad at him. But then after a week, we make up, we get over it, but it's like I tainted people's perspective of my relationship because I'm sharing all my business about how we got in an argument and I'm angry. And when people don't truly know your spouse for the beautiful person that they are, they don't really know the amazing qualities that your spouse has because they're not living with them, they're not in that relationship with them, then it's harder for them to forgive your spouse than it is for you to make up, in the next week. So that was like a big lesson. I really had to learn that when we went through conflict, we resolved it together. As a team. I went directly to my husband instead of running to everyone else to communicate my feelings, and to go to God and to go to prayer, to go to my prayer closet. And that has now been my outlet. If there's ever like a disagreement or something like that, it's like I'm either talking to my husband because he is my teammate. I need to work it out with him. You're entering into a marriage. You are forming a new family. You guys are on the same team. Your spouse is not your enemy, but they are now your family. Another big thing that I wish I had learned more about before marriage is that people like to be loved in different ways. There's different love languages that people have. I don't know if you've ever read that book about the different love languages. I think it's on Amazon. I'll link it in my description box below if you're interested in reading that book. But there's different love languages like, personal quality time and physical touch and words of affirmation and, giving gifts and different things like that. And the way that I love to be loved is not the same way that my husband wants to be loved. And it's hard because in the beginning, you don't understand why, you know, if you do certain things, you don't feel like you're getting the reaction that you expect to get from that person, because you're like, if you did that for me, I would be so excited about that. So how come you're not super excited that I'm doing this for you, or vice versa? So for example, one of the love languages that my husband has is like physical touch. Like, he loves to cuddle, he loves to touch. And me, that's not really like high on my list of love languages. So it's learning how to be open-minded in loving that person the way they want to be loved, and dying to yourself. So I had to come to a place where I have to be intentionally like thinking in my mind, okay, let me allow him to cuddle. Okay, like, let's snuggle right now, or let me hug him a little tighter, because this is something that he appreciates. One of my love languages, and I am not like a superficial person, but one of my love languages was receiving gifts. And it's because growing up, that is just the way that my mother expressed her love to me. You know that every single Christmas, every single birthday, she always showed her love to me by being really thoughtful. And it's really about the thought behind the gift, but getting me something that she knew that I would love, that I would enjoy, and that I would appreciate. So when we first got into marriage and we had like holidays, like, you know, Valentine's Day and Christmas and birthday would come around, I did a disservice to our marriage early in the beginning, because I would overlook all the other things that he was doing. Like, he would do acts of service, and he would do so many amazing things. Like, my husband is so amazing, but it's like I'll be focused on that one thing, and then over time communicating to him and expressing to him like certain things that I enjoy, you know, different thoughtful gestures, how I want to be loved. You know, we've grown into that. We've grown into understanding one another's love languages. So that is one thing that I really wish that I knew before marriage. Just asking the question, like, how do you like to be loved? What are some gestures that you would really appreciate in a relationship? So another thing that I kind of knew this before marriage, but I just want to bring up this point, because this is a thing that a lot of people don't recognize before marriage, and that is that you can grow together. You don't have to have it all together. And I think that a lot of us think that we need to have it all together before marriage. Like, I need to graduate school. I need to, you know, buy a house. I need to do like all these things. And you guys know that I do a lot of videos where I'm talking about like how to prepare for marriage, because you want to prepare. You don't want to just be like not ready, but at the same time, you want to prepare, but you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to feel completely ready, and you don't have to have it all together. My husband and I got married while we were still in school. We were still in college, and we were able to both, you know, graduate. So there's no specific timeline. You guys can grow together. When my husband and I first got married, I wasn't like an established author. I wasn't an established entrepreneur. We were, you know, coming up with new ideas, and I love that because we've been able to see one another evolve and grow and blossom. And I'm glad that I'm able to experience so much growth with him, and it has brought us through so many different seasons that we've been through, because we didn't wait until we were perfect and then finished going through all of life's experiences to come together. We said we want to come together so that we can experience life together, instead of saying, let me experience life first and then come together after. The fourth thing that I wish I knew before marriage is that sex is more important than you think. Sex is not just a fling. Sex is so important. God created sex. And when a man and a woman come together, they are made one flesh. Their souls are tied together. Their souls are knit together. They become one. And sex is important. And a lot of times when you get into marriage, like, it's like before marriage, especially if you're trying to be pure and not have sex before marriage, the enemy tries to tempt you to have sex, right? But then when you come together and you're married, he tries to tempt you by making you not want to have sex. He tries to make you withhold sex from your spouse because Satan knows just how powerful and important sex is. So he tries to pervert sex out of context so that when you're single, he wants to pervert sex and he wants you to have all the sex. But when you're married, he tries to have you withhold the sex from your spouse because he knows how important the connection of sex is in the right context. And the right context to have sex is in marriage. The Bible says do not withhold sex from your spouse only for a certain amount of time so that you can devote yourself to prayer and fasting, because our bodies now belong to one another and we are now one. And the last thing that I want to talk about that I wish people would talk more about before marriage is that submission does not make you weak. Submission is such a beautiful thing. As the husband gets under the mission of Christ, then the wife submits. She gets under the mission of her husband, and this is all bringing the team together. Every person on the team is just as valuable. Every person on the team is just as equal, but we all have a different role to play. Just like any sports team, if the team wins the championship, every single teammate gets a championship ring. Every single teammate is valuable and important, but each and every one of them have a different position and a role to play. And that is how it is in marriage. No one is more important than the other. So those are the 5 things that I wish that I knew before marriage. Leave a comment in the comment section and let me know, married couples, what you wish you knew before marriage. But if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave it a thumbs up. If it's your first time on my channel, do not forget to subscribe. And if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely connect with me on there. And I'd love to stay connected with you guys. But I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next YouTube video. Until next time, bye.